Welcome to the Wellness Source podcast with Dr. Dan Rudé. What a phenomenal show we've got for you tonight. We not only have Dr. Dan, but we have a very special guest who we're so excited to have joining us, Dr. Glenn Frieder. And Dr. Glenn is a homeopath and an incredibly good one at that. We've got a topic tonight that's going to blow your mind, my friends. We are going to be talking about opening heart chakras with a combination of chiropractic and homeopathy. Dr. Dan, of course, we all know, went to the Harvard of chiropractic colleges. That's Palmer Chiropractic College, where he graduated. And he is a certified medical examiner and athletic trainer. Dr. Glenn Frieder, who we're very excited to have on the show, is a chiropractor and a homeopath. And tonight we're going to be solving the problem of head-forward posture and mental stress that is rampant in today's society. Let me ask you guys, have you ever tried to feel happy when you're all hunched over? Well, tonight we've got two experts in their field, and they're going to give you activities and products that will help you achieve improvement in your struggles. We're also going to look at the chemical structures and theories behind Bach flower remedies and some other homeopathic items that heal stressed and adrenally compromised bodies to help begin the healing process. Chiropractic adjustments and extension spinal opening activities will be addressed as well. And without further ado, I give you these two wonderfully esteemed doctors.
How are you? Go ahead.
There you go. It's been a miracle of technology.
We made it. We did it. Thank God. Hey, also, I want to let everyone know, Glenn also went to Palmer.
Nope. I went to Western States, and it was a dual degree program. It was a DCND.
Oh, got it. Okay. But I thought you were in Davenport when you got that accident.
No, that's a different story.
Dr. Glenn has a great story. I want to just kind of get a little bit of that. A lot of chiropractors do a little bit of these homeopathy treatments and Bach flower remedies, but Dr. Glenn, for like the universe kind of put him in a place where he needed to learn about homeopathy in a vital way, and we're really just blessed in our profession to have Dr. Glenn. He's really a spearhead, a leader in giving homeopathic support to chiropractic patients. So I'm really excited to have him here with me tonight. He's one of my teachers and one of teachers for many chiropractors across the world. So he's going to just really inspire you. Dr. Glenn, tell me a little bit about, and tell our audience a little bit about your initial experience with homeopathy and how it saved you.
Well, when you get to be my age, you have a lot of stories.
We only have 30 minutes tonight, Glenn.
I know, so I wish we had 2.5 hours or more, and I could really get into it. I did go to Western States. It was a chiropractic and naturopathic program. It was a dual degree. So we had some basic homeopathy concepts. But the thing that never was clear is how homeopathy works. They always said that the homeopathic remedy stimulates the body's vital force to heal. And that's very nebulous because it doesn't have like a concrete type of something that people can relate to. What is the vital force and how does it stimulate? And so when I was 5 years old, I had an experience which really changed my life, especially in later years, because I had my favorite toy, which was a magnet. And I took the magnet, and I used to love going to the beach and getting iron filings out of the sand and playing with it. And one day I just took the magnet over to the television set, and that's the days when we had not flat screens, but those big white screens. And they have a photon delivery. I took the magnet over to the screen, and I put it there, and all of a sudden, the whole picture became distorted. And I knew I was going to be in trouble, because I took the magnet away, and the picture stayed distorted. And I told my mother, and she said, "Uh-oh." And she called the television repairman. And the television repairman came and he looked at it, shook his head, and then he took out this magic wand, which he called the degausser, and he degaussed the television, and all of the field came back into balance. So that stuck with me. It was a very vital event, because now I have an explanation for how homeopathy works. And I'd like to share that with our audience, so it's not such a nebulous thing. It's something that we could actually relate to in a very positive way. But we have to extend our thinking into a new concept, which is more what we call the quantum physics.
Everyone's got to visualize the quantum physics in their mind.
So what is quantum physics? Quantum physics just says there is no separation. We're all connected. Einstein said it best. He said, in fact, I'll read it. I have on my wall. It says, "We are all glowing fields of interlocking energy." That was an Einstein quote. We are all glowing fields of interlocking energy. And, when we talk to physicists with the concept of quantum physics, they realize that these bodies are not really solid. They're just condensed forms of vibrations and frequencies. And that's the essence of homeopathy. So, if I can extend upon that idea for a moment, and I think I've showed this to you in class, the energy ball, do you remember that?
Right.
Yeah, and so if you touch the two electrodes, it lights up. And I could take 100 people, if we all hold hands, and one person touches one electrode, and I'm touching the other one, we're all holding hands, the ball will light up. And the reason it lights up is because we all conduct electrical current. So if you conduct electrical current through a conductor, which is our body, then you generate a field. And we call this field our sixth sense. We call it the sixth sense. So, we're born with what we call the five senses, our hearing, vision, touching, tasting, smelling. Those are our five senses, but we have a sixth sense. Some people call it the intuition, but it's a sense that we could actually feel something without our five senses. And it's part of our survival mechanism, because let's say there was an animal stalking us for dinner, we'd be able to feel it before we could hear it, or see it, or taste it, or touch it. So homeopathy works on the field. It works on the field, and that field is part of our nervous system. It's a large part of our nervous system. Now, in chiropractic, what's the concept behind chiropractic?
The rule of the nerve, basically turning on one's power, connecting the brain to all the cells in the body.
Okay, so let's give that a little visual for a moment, because we're all basically visual learners. So we have a little model of what we call the subluxation.
Right.
Right? What is subluxation?
Subluxation, there's 3 different degrees of misalignments of the joints. There's dislocation.
You're getting too complicated. let's make it simple so everybody...
30% misalignment is a subluxation. It presses on nerves.
Here we go.
Discs.
The nervous system is like an electrical system.
Right.
If there's misalignment, you can get nerve interference.
Correct.
The chiropractor's job is to find nerve interference and correct it.
Correct.
Is that right? Doesn't that make it easier?
That does. All right.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. So let's go back to the field.
All right.
Too jumpy.
I gotta light my energy ball up.
You got to light. I've heard that you can light your balls up.
This is a family podcast.
Okay. Sorry. We're talking about energy balls.
Energy balls, yes.
Boys. Okay.
Got it. Focus. So we're all in a circle, and I've just got my adjustments, so my power is on, and I've gotten a homeopathic Bach flower remedy.
Wait a second. Yeah, you're too far. Let's talk about how the homeopathics work. It's
Okay.
very, very brief, where I'm almost done. So when the body is under stress, and it doesn't matter what the stress is, whether it's emotional, spiritual, structural, or biochemical. These are the three major stresses that we endure. It doesn't matter what the stress is. The body will adapt to stress by going into what we call a defensive posture. Dr. Dave Denton, used to call it the pugilistic posture, the fighter's pose. This is the way the body defends itself when it's under stress.
So kind of hunched.
As chiropractors, this is what we see come into our office. We see people come in with these postural imbalances, and we assess them, and we try to figure out how to bring them back into balance by correcting nerve interference. However, there is an imprint, just like a magnet next to a television screen. It creates a distortion in the body's structure, because we're in a defensive pattern. So we're locked into these defensive postures, and when the body fails to adapt to stresses, it gets what we call a symptom. And we call that pain. And what does pain stand for? P-A-I-N.
Don't know.
Pay attention inside now.
Wow.
Pain.
Nice. Pay attention inside now. Good.
Pay attention inside now, because the body's trying to let you know that something needs to be corrected so that we can be at our highest potential. And our highest potential is complete health.
Right.
Clear perspective. See, we're not these bodies. We're having these human bodies, but what we really are spiritual beings.
Right.
And the spirit is pure electrical magnetic energy.
Right.
Beyond our imagination. And this is what we're discovering now in quantum physics.
Right.
So, how does homeopathy work? Well, it's very simple. Homeopathy degausses the field. So if there's a distortion in our field, if you take something that resonates at a frequency that corrects the distortion, then the nervous system is integrated and can communicate, and our health returns. It's really quite simple. And it's measurable, because homeopaths, and I went to 6 years of homeopathic school. This was up in Hahnemann College in Berkeley. We'd go 1 week a month, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I was in a class with 35 other students. And guess how many of them were chiropractors?
2.
2. You were absolutely right. Yeah. And the rest were medical doctors.
Wow.
Because they were seeking an answer, an alternative to having used pharmaceutical products, which we know that every pharmaceutical product has a side effect. And some of them are very deadly. There's more people that die from side effects of medications than almost any other medical type of problem.
That's terrible statistic.
Well, I'm passionate about this because one of my very favorite patients that I really had a very good relationship with, just known as the happiest fellow that people knew. He was just delightful. And he was a CPA, and he had ran a big corporation. And during tax time, he overworked and he was exhausted. And so he went to his medical doctor with exhaustion and fatigue. And the doctor gave him 2 prescriptions of antidepressants. And when we look up these antidepressants, and I would encourage anybody at home, if you ever get a medication, you go to the website drugs.com and look up your medication for the side effects and for the indications before you take any medication. And it is horrendous to see how many side effects these medications have. Well, my patient took 2 medications that the doctor gave him for anxiety and depression and fatigue. And both, when you look at those remedies, there's something called an interaction checker. On drugs.com, you list the drugs, and it tells you if these drugs are compatible or not. Well, these 2 drugs were absolutely not compatible. It said, do not take together. And this is what he was prescribed.
Oh, gosh.
A week after he took the medications, he jumped off a bridge and committed suicide.
Wow.
Shocked the whole community because he was not suicidal. And if you look at the indications, just go to Wellbutrin and look at the side effects, and it says you could have suicidal thoughts and paranoia. And that's exactly what happened to him. and he killed himself. And this is not uncommon. If you look at all these shootings that happen around the world, in our United States, most of these people that are shooters, not just mentally ill, but they're medicated. That makes them more severely ill. So homeopathy has never killed anybody, and it doesn't have any serious side effects. And it's one of the most useful, amazing types of healing art forms that there is on the planet.
It's very old. You're talking years.
You're talking since the 1800s. It's been used successfully to help heal people with their problems without steroids, antibiotics, antivirals, beta blockers. This is what the MD's tools are. They're very limited. They just give them medications that inhibit symptoms. And the symptoms are not the problem. The symptoms are the body's way of saying, I'm failing to adapt to stresses. Let's address what the stress is.
Right. Just like chiropractic, we get to the cause of the pain, not medicate the body.
Exactly.
Address the pain. So chiropractic and homeopathy are very similar in their healing method, I guess.
Absolutely. The same philosophy,
Right.
which is, the philosophy in homeopathy, they say there's several very poignant statements, and now that I'm talking about it, of course my mind went blank, but because I'm getting all worked up about talking about these other things. But how does homeopathy work? It's basically they take a substance, whether it's plant or mineral or animal or synthetic or even a drug, and they take it and they titrate it down until there's not any molecular form remaining in this particular substance. There's no measurable form of a molecule. What you have is a pure frequency and a wavelength that stimulates our own body's electromagnetic system. And it seems almost like impossible to think of because it's such a subtle, gentle way of healing the body.
So yeah, many times the people explain homeopathy to me, and it's like, this is 1,000th wash of silver. It doesn't have it has a remiss, a taste of the shadow of that silver, but that's the most powerful. Just briefly, to our audience.
But we're talking about frequencies and vibrations. Things have different oscillating wavelengths, and they find that when you titrate something down to a much further degree, that it actually resonates with the same kind of frequency that our spirit and emotions have. Where the physical body, the lower frequencies, and you could do the lower potencies like the 6C, the 12C, the 30Cs are usually for an acute physical issue. You get to 200 Cs, which is more for a constitutional remedy. You get to 1Ms, 10Ms, 50Ms, and these are things that resonate at a very high frequency and address different parts of our psyche. And
very interesting how you describe that, Glenn, because as spiritual people, I'm Jewish, and I talk about the Kabbalists, the body, and the higher levels of our existence, our soul, and above that, the godly levels of our existence. And you're saying that homeopathy, the more titrate out or the more diluted, actually affects our body at higher levels. Is that what you're explaining to me?
yeah.
That's amazing.
Let's talk about Dr. Bach, flower essence.
So let's talk about, Glenn, you have experience 20 years, 30 years of treating stressed, hunched over, as you talked about, these posture fighting patients who are stressed. Just give us a little experience of how you address that.
Well, again, a person's posture is going to usually reflect an adaptive stress posture. In other words, when a person has a stress, they're going to go into a defensive posture. Now, this head forward posture where people are now chronically looking at, their phones and their iPads and their computers. This in postural neurology, they call it postural dementia, because we see cognitive decline when people are going through these head forward, bending forward, tilt postures.
Wow, so also affecting their brain power, not just their heart and their lungs.
Dementia, we're seeing a decline in people's ability to have cognitive function. So this is just due to kind of like work and habitual types of working on these new technologies. These iPhones are less than how old are iPhones? They're like maybe 30 years old.
Even last 10, 20.
I remember, I was just talking to patients. I had some CDs I wanted them to listen to, and they said, CDs? We don't have a CD player. What's a CD player? I wanted to get some photos scanned and put them on DVDs, and nobody has a DVD player anymore. I had to put it on thumb drives. What's next? Is this going to all be on the cloud? Where's the cloud? This is
auricular implants instead of increase our RAM drive in our brain.
Well, it's a good point, because technology is progressing faster than most of us can adapt to it.
Right.
And, we're not now seeing the effects of EMFs on people's, we see a massive pandemic of insomnia with our patients now. And a lot of it has to do with the electrical stimulation from routers and different computer-generated electrical types of devices that we play and are exposed to, not just from in our home, but from the homes around us. If you go into a hotel, and you'll see how many, stations come up on your phone, to be able to access.
How bombarded we are by
We're bombarded by wavelengths that people are now just talking about. They're trying to keep it hush hush because it's a big business, but EMFs is a real problem. We're seeing an epidemic of brain cancers because people are holding these microwave devices up into their ear, and it's cooking their brain. And so, I'm feeling pretty passionate about, educating people to start to live a life that we were meant to live, which is more with nature, and being able to be aware that if we're going to use these devices, we have to use them with caution.
Right. And also re-energize ourselves with natural homeopathic remedies and getting outside and going to the beach and detoxing our acidity. Yeah.
Remedy there is. We always feel better when we're either at the beach or in a forest or someplace where there's actually trees and rivers and lakes.
I tell my patients, go hug a tree. You need to detox.
Go hug a tree, absolutely. Trees are intelligent. And, if we actually lived a life that was more, compatible with things that we had before we had all these technical devices, we would see a lot less illnesses.
That's a great transition into Bach remedies. So Dr. Bach, in my understanding, looked at how different plants and flowers grew and the environment that they had to fight to blossom, like a mustard flower, what it has to do to fight through the soil and find the right environment. And he said that if we take a little bit of that Bach flower, we put it in our patients, that power of the struggle that the mustard flower had will impart that energy into helping our patients fight their struggles. So just explain a little bit about that in your more educated way.
Well, Bach's philosophy is pretty straightforward. He said that if the mind and the spirit are not congruent, that it translates into the physical body for us to become aware that we are not living our spiritual lives. And what he discovered is that flowers are the highest enlightenment of a plant. In other words, what does it take to make a flower? It takes the 5 elements. So it takes earth, it takes water, it takes fire, which is the sun, it takes ether, which is the etheric energy. And all those combined create the flower. And the flower is the highest expression of a plant. And he found that by just taking that flower and soaking it in spring water under sunlight, that it imparts its essence into the water. And that water is then put into a bottle with a little bit of brandy to preserve it. And that's your flower essence. So,
I didn't know there was brandy in this. Great, I'm going to start drinking.
Brandy it keeps bacteria from growing.
Right.
And it makes it taste better. But Dr. Bach's philosophy was very simple. He was a medical doctor, homeopath. He was a bacteriologist. He discovered and founded different remedies. He found that by taking different bacteria from the bowel, which they call the bowel nosodes, we're able to actually translate and to help heal from some very serious GI problems and other internal related dysfunctions. And then he discovered he considered a psychic sensitive, and when he would experience a different emotion, let's say if he was experiencing persistent thoughts, and if he got close to a flower essence called white chestnut, that he would notice that those thoughts would dissipate. He would realize that that flower essence was something that helped quiet his persistent looping thoughts. And they say the answers come from a quiet mind. So by taking this flower essence, people were able to quiet their chattering minds and start to tune into their inner guidance.
Is that the yarrow environments? Those are the one.
That's a whole different combination.
Oh, because you had said that one helped me quiet my mind. I said I was doing
special yarrow. Okay, this special yarrow is not one of the Bach flowers.
Oh, okay.
This is called the California Flower Essence, and there's a company called Flower Essence Society, and they have really forged and moved flower essence healing to a whole new level. But there's flower essences from every part of the world. They have Australian flower essences, Hawaiian flower essences. Every country has innovated different flower essences that are.
Dr. Bach was trumping around the British.
Yes, we call these
Yes.
English flowers.
Yes, he was the English flower. I lived in England for about 7 years. These are all the Bach flower remedies. About
There's 38 of them.
38. Yes.
And each one is related to a different emotion.
Mm.
And I find that is one of the most powerful forms of healing, because it starts to harmonize the mind with the spirit. And this is where the problem is with people, is that they're in conflict with that depth of their spiritual being with their mind, and the ego mind. Ego, what stands for EGO, what is that? Edging God out.
Edging God out. Oh, wow.
The ego mind, and we all have an ego mind. Some people call it the shadow self.
Interesting.
It's we're born with that because we have to learn that the only thing that's really real is love, and the opposite of love is fear. And what we're seeing right now in our world is a fear-based, psychotic, delusional time, where people are panicking on all levels. And we see so much mental illness. And the Bach flowers and homeopathy are some of the best strategies to actually move through those types of illnesses and illusions that people live in.
I know when you were treating me, I felt a considerable lightness in my heart after I had a treatment with the Bach flower remedies, and that kind of motivated me to start my homeopathic journey with you. And I've seen that a lot in my patients with the flower remedies. They have a lightness in their presence, a more open, more receptive presence, and I feel that energy change. And I ask them how they feel. They say, "Wow, I feel better."
Yeah.
I haven't even adjusted them yet, but.
First of all, you're validating their feelings, which is a big healing.
It is.
Yes, because so many people don't get to voice how they feel and express or vent the pain and the fears and all the media that's bombarding us with all these negative messages, the social medias that are making people compare themselves with everybody else.
Right.
Today I had a patient, 20 years old, she's graduating Berkeley in December, bright, beautiful, and totally upset because she's saying, everybody I know has already got their direction, they've got their plan, they're going to make millions of dollars, they're so much ahead of me, and I don't even know what I want to do yet. And, it's like, I said, well, take a break. You've just been through a 4-year gauntlet. Learn to, go out and travel, take time and get some sleep. You've just, people are missing the basics. Healing is not complicated. It's not where you need some type of medication that's been biologically altered through
some lab. Right.
Healing is so simple, and it's just the basics. Just eat, sleep, and exercise. It's really not difficult.
Go hug a few trees.
Yeah.
We only have about 10 minutes left. I want to really kind of get into how it feels for a patient to kind of experience your muscle testing, how you use the magnet on their chest.
Okay, that's not going to be something that I think is so easily done at home, but I can show you something that people can do right now at home, watching this podcast. That's very, very simple, and they could tell them if they are off balance. Okay. Would you like to learn that?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. This is one of the basic assessments.
Let's go. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, Daniel, you are one of the best chiropractors because you have opened up beyond what we were taught in anatomy. See, anatomists, when they dissect cadavers, dead people, they look at the skull and they say, well, the skull doesn't move. It's synchronosis, the synchondrosis, these joints don't move.
You learn that pictures move.
Yes, of course. The skull expands and contracts about 1/16 of an inch at the suture joints. And the reason it does that is because if you took off the top of the calvarum, you would see the brain looks like a jellyfish, and it's just pumping cerebral spinal fluid down the cord.
Right.
Or to facilitate that motion, the joints have to move. Right. So the very simple way is to look at your symmetry. If you look in the mirror, if you look at your symmetry, is your shoulders levels, are your hips level, are your mastoids level? That's the first basic thing that we have to look at. If the symmetry is off, then a person isn't at their highest potential. And that's when chiropractic shines, because we can get people back into a postural alignment where their nervous system is integrated and communicating more effectively. But here's what we can do at home right now. Everybody, I'm going to take off my hat. There we go. You can see I tried to keep my hat on because I have so much light coming through my head that it might blind you.
Blinding.
So,
Here's this homeopathy.
And by the way, it's 47 years that I've been a chiropractor now.
You got me by 27.
It's 47.
I know.
I'm in my 70s now. So anyhow, this is what you do. You go, and I'm going to put on my glasses, otherwise everything's a blur. You go up the nasal bridge, right up to the frontal bone, and that should be absolutely level. And so what I recommend is people take their thumbs, you stay by the bridge of the nose, you follow it up past the soft tissue, and it should feel level. Now,
so if you feel one of those sinuses,
you're going to have to take your glasses off to do that. Okay, so take your glasses off. Now stay by the bridge of your nose.
Okay.
Don't go lateral, stay medial, and go up to the frontal bone, past the soft tissue. Right. Go up. You got to go up to the eyebrow.
Okay.
Keep going.
There.
Okay. Yeah. Go down.
That's the upper pressure point. Got it.
No, so don't use so much pressure. It's light touch.
Right.
See, I see your left side is dropped.
Oh, wow. See, he's so good. Through the magic of Zoom, he can see that I'm on.
Well, I can see your thumb is lower on the left than it is on the right.
It does. It feels more pronounced.
Yes. Okay, so that's one thing. I got to put my hat on, otherwise I'll blind everybody.
All right, so if you're off, you got to come in and...
So here's the second point. Here's the second reference point. So the TMJ, there are so many people with TMJ problems, and doctors are focused on the TMJ as the problem. but it's not the problem in most cases. 99% of the problems come from the frontal bone not being balanced. So this area, I'm going to come in here. So this area is like the frame of a door.
Right.
And if the door is not framed, the hinges do not track. So here's the other thing you can do to check and see if your cranium is off. You go behind the condyle, which is just right in front of the auditory meatus,
Right.
and just open and close your mouth slowly. And it should both open evenly on both sides, but you have to do it slow. So you put your index finger behind the condyles, right in front of the opening of your ear.
Right.
Open slow, and you should see the jaw open and close evenly.
Yeah, I feel like mine's shifting a little bit to the left.
Right.
Right.
Yep. I see it. You can see your jaw is actually tracking to the left when you open your mouth.
Right.
Yeah. So the way to correct that is very simple. We just give you your homeopathic remedy.
Wow.
Do you have your homeopathics there?
I do.
Okay.
We've got 2 minutes.
Those are the Bach flowers. Do you have the homeopathics?
Oh, the homeopathics, right. My first aid kit.
Okay. Okay, you have the trauma kit there.
Trauma kit, that's what I got.
That's good for trauma. Well, you need those, and I'm going to guess by saying, because you tend to push yourself at work, don't you?
Right.
You see, you tend
I'm ready from work, yes.
Okay. You know why you do that?
What?
It's because you love people and you want to help them.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you.
It's true.
All right. So which?
Well, I have a question for you. So,
Yes.
are you sleeping through the night or are you waking?
I'm waking.
And do you wake between 1 and 3 or between 3 and 5?
Usually between 1 and 3.
Okay. All right. Well, the remedy you need is actually not in there. So, sorry.
All right, we got 1 minute. I want to thank you, Glenn, for giving us this really insightful look into homeopathy, and I know there's lots more to talk about. I'm definitely gonna put a little Facebook blast out with some of the things we talked about and some other things that we will talk about in the future. Thanks everyone who's listening. Thanks, Dr. Glenn.
Yes. Well, Leo, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm honored to be on your show anytime, and I'll chatter away whenever you want.
Thank you so much. Lots of healing energy to you and everyone else listening.
Go see your local homeopath and go see Daniel here, because he can get you on the right direction here to get your nervous system balanced. And don't fall into the symptom naming diagnoses as anxiety, depression, fatigue. These are just symptoms of the problem, and you want to discover the problem, not just dwell on the symptom and inhibit the symptoms. That's your body's way of expressing what it needs. All right. Take care.
Have a great night. God bless.